Welcome back, everybody, to another multiplayer game. Unfortunately, because we could not just could not get everybody together to be able to play the Great War mod, we've had to discontinue that in favor of starting something new. What we've decided to do is to organize a core group of players that would take on the role of the major powers in the game. Folks we know would be available whenever we need to play. And then on top of that, we will build around that folks who will play some of the minors. That way we should have a more consistent schedule of recording games and be able to dive into this and keep it going. We're going to play the Road to 56 mod, which is a mod that I've never done in multiplayer before. We've got a few other mods going along with that, but those are the main ones. And it should be an interesting gameplay. We're excited to dive into it. We're doing a 3-hour recording session today. Unfortunately, when I recorded all of this, my mic wasn't working, so I'm doing this all as a voiceover after the fact. So hopefully it works out okay. Let's dive into today's multiplayer session. So taking a look at the players we have this time around, you can see the list here. We have Mao playing as Germany. A random British guy is the British Empire, the United Kingdom. Santis is going to start out as Communist Soviet Union. We've got Cloven playing as Sweden, Obama Fangirl playing as France. We have Panzer as Italy. We have Torch playing as the Argentine Republic. Rixus is playing Canada. Wild Hogs is Colombia. Mr. Beep is Honduras. We have Malik 88 as Japan. Louisman as United Mexican States. Myself as the USA. It's my first time ever playing USA in multiplayer, so this should be interesting. And then Grumblebee and Insane, otherwise as known as Thomas Shelby on here, are playing co-op as Communist China. So there you have the rundown of who all is playing. Let's get into the game. Okay, so as I mentioned, I have not played the United States before, or in a multiplayer match, so this is going to be pretty interesting. Obviously, first things that I need to deal with are research and economy. The main thing with the U.S. is getting the U.S. back on its feet out of the Depression. The U.S. starts out with a ton of civilian factories, so up through at least early 1938, my plan on construction is just to max out on military factories wherever I've got a decent level of infrastructure already. Now, as far as research goes, we're going to do the usual things to start that are going to get our industry off on the right foot, as well as research bonuses early in the beginning of the game. I will also probably focus on some doctrines at some point because those take a while to research, though you get some bonuses from the national focus, so I may not do a whole lot of that at the beginning. We are going to focus on building our Navy, and because ships take a long time to build, it's important that I work on technology early. One of those things is going to be to get the super heavy battleship hull as soon as I can. Also get parts for things like sonar, etc., things I'll be able to add to my ships and do upgrades as necessary. As far as military factories go, I'm going to start out mostly focusing on support equipment and small arms, but I'm not going to start queuing up any actual new military units to start. We're going to focus a lot on spamming carriers and getting them going as quickly as I can. As far as the focus goes, we're going to start completing the New Deal. My plan is to go pretty traditional with the United States. We're going to stay democracy. We're going to make sure that we kind of stay on the good side of the Allies as much as possible. So we're going to keep Franklin Roosevelt in power. But it's going to depend a little bit on what happens in the rest of the world as far as how I play things. I will have to respond to the things that happen in the rest of the world. So right off the bat, we're signing a bunch of non-aggression pacts with folks, and we started having an issue with Santis lagging behind, and he ended up having to leave the game because we just could not get his settings to where they needed to be. And don't worry, I do end up turning off this day-night cycle in just a minute. So what ends up happening instead is that when Santis leaves the game, we're going to get Cloven Chief, who is running Sweden at the moment. He's going to switch over and take over as the Soviet Union, so we still have a major power running the Soviet Union. We're into late January 1936 now. Signed non-aggression pacts with just about everybody. And what you're going to end up seeing are a couple of things that happen. One is that France is going to end up going Bonapartist and becoming an empire once again. And the other thing is that Italy gets pretty aggressive, but for the most part does not choose to ally itself with the Axis. A lot of the early action that's going to happen in this game is going to happen with Communist China and with Central and South America. So another thing that I want to do is I want to immediately kind of work on my navy. Doing a couple of things. One is I'm going to get them doing exercises so we can build up our Navy points, because there's a lot of things I want to do as far as building the super heavy battleship, for example, that I will need that Navy experience to be able to make those changes. All right, as expected, the Germans remilitarized the Rhineland. No surprise there. There must have been a 35-day national focus, because they have got that before most of the rest of us do anything. So taking a look now at our national focus tree, there's not a whole lot I can do other than work on things like WPA. We just got to climb out of the depression as best we can. At the moment, I only have just the 5 research slots, but we're going to be able to get more. And since it's going to take so long, Cloven Chief left the game. Since it's going to take so long to build up my Navy, I'm going to spend a lot of early research once I complete some of the early things for industrial tech. I'm going to spend a lot of my early research on the Navy. Silent Workhorse will give me that bonus for political points, that 15% bonus, which I'll then have throughout the game. So we've got ourselves a civil war in France between the French Commune and the French Republic. It's a pretty tiny one. It's obviously an attempt by one of the other players, probably the USSR, to start a coup in France, but it will be quickly smashed in that little northern region right there. It's really nothing for us to worry about too much. And there it is. Just like that, France will quickly put to rest. And Mr. Beep says, "Nice try, Stalin." And that's pretty much it, too. So here we have the first of many dominoes to fall. The Siamese People's Republic have joined the Axis. As we're going to find out, there's a lot of ahistorical things that go down. But Siam's right here. Today we would call it Thailand. And it's just the first of many things to fall. We're going to upgrade our carrier fighters. That's going to be important for us since we're putting such a premium on carriers in this game, trying to build up the Navy as much as possible. I want to make sure that my fighters, my bombers are all up to date. So we're going to go ahead and start researching for the B-17s. Chinese-Soviet Republic declared war, and they're in the process. You can see how small they start out. And as you'll see, they're going to just one by one start declaring war on all of these various territories around them so that they can eventually take out all of China and put them all under the communist banner. All right, nationalist Spain declared war on the Spanish Republic. So there's our first little bit of war that happens, and it happens as expected in the Spanish Civil War. But we're going to find that that Civil War actually ends up becoming much more intense than what you typically see in a game. So back over here to China, you can see Communist China is working their way through to this initial breakthrough of territory that they're after. They're going to win that one pretty easily. We can see how this one's going here, and you can see how one-sided it is. Very few casualties, only 114 so far for the Chinese-Soviet Republic. They're just going to walk to victory in that one. We do have the Italian War in Ethiopia, and then, of course, the Spanish Civil War. And there it is. There's the end of that war. They're going to gobble up that territory real quick, and that is just the first of several expansionist aims that they have. Let's go ahead and take a look at technology. We're going to continue to work our way through the industrial tech and get that all built up as quickly as we can. Now, as far as national focuses go, there's our counterintelligence department. We got to continue to climb out of the Great Depression as best we can. This here is one of a couple of national focuses that will give us an extra research slot, which is really important to have as the U.S. early on. Now we're going to get the financial expert, which is going to reduce consumer goods factories usage, which again helps us climb out of the depression. You can see how many civilian factories we have in use. So I'm primarily going to focus for the first 2 years just on building military factories, and then we'll switch over and start building up some of our naval factories as well, or dockyards, so we can build some more things. And the primary place I want to do that is wherever the infrastructure is the highest, because you get the best construction bonus to do it that way. The United Fruit Company takeover in Honduras. So we're going to see a legit banana republic in Central America. So you can see right now that the Spanish Civil War is pretty bloody. Spanish Republic, Nationalist Spain both have taken pretty equal numbers of territory, but the Spanish Republic hasn't taken nearly as many casualties in the war. And so far, they're doing pretty well. But I believe this ends up in broken up into a few more things. There's our new tech tree that we have available to us. We're going to start working on some doctrine, some land doctrine, naval doctrine. Yeah, we'll go naval doctrine first, and then eventually we'll work on those other ones. They all take a long time, but we get some bonuses from national focus to some of these doctrines, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with them. I'm looking to see Neutrality Act. I don't think we're able to do quite yet. Actually, we can. So we're going to do that one. You can see what all that does for us. And eventually it's going to allow us to get that arsenal of democracy, which is huge. Look at the military factories and naval dockyards that we get from one single national focus. Totally worth it. So we're going to go ahead and do Neutrality Act so that we can open that up for us. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our dockyards. We've got some free dockyards available, so we're going to go ahead and queue up another Yorktown-class carrier. Eventually, we're going to be able to get some 1940s carriers, but we're not quite there yet. So let's go ahead and do Concentrated Industry 2. Pretty quick way to be able to improve our industry. We do need to trade for not only steel, but also chromium. So that we can produce what we need. And we're going to trade that with the UK so that they get the bonuses to the factories as a potential ally down the road. All right, fire control systems are now available to us. We're not quite ready with naval experience points to do the things that we want to do yet. So I'm going to look around and decide where we want to go with these points. Let's take a look at creating a 1936 cruiser variant. Not aggression pact. All right, we'll do that. And let's get back to that. We got a couple of research things we need to deal with first. Computing machine, we're a little too far ahead on that one. All right, land doctrine it is, because those take a long time to research, so the faster we get on those, the better. And we're going to go strategic destruction on our air doctrine. Since I have so many different researches available. Oh, okay. We're going to go Democrats. Try not to shake things up too much. Keep down the path we're going. Even though it's 860 days away, I really want to get a jump on those 1940 carrier hulls. And with so many research trees available to us, I've got a little bit of flexibility on being able to research ahead on some things I want. What about just going with some Brooklyn class cruiser hulls? We're going to go ahead and do that. It's saying 1951 right now, but once we free up some of these naval dockyards, that'll happen a little faster. So taking a look now at my fleets, and this is kind of the makeup that I'm going with for my main fleets. 3 carriers, 4 battleships, and then a collection of other things as well. So that's what I want to start to build up, and then of course I'll have more than that in my other fleets. I'm going to have some sub-fleets together, but I definitely want to have carriers, battleships, and then some other support ships available in each of those. So we'll keep working on those, and we're just going to keep spamming as many ships as humanly possible. All right, so now let's take a look at our infantry divisions, because I want to get them to their final makeup, which is going to be 7 infantry battalions, 2 artillery battalions, kind of that standard 20 width for infantry that folks are so used to and familiar with. Just an easy way to build those up. did I do that as 8? I don't have the points yet, so I'll have to wait until I get a few more points to be able to get that last one removed. Sign of the Times. Let's take a look. Arsenal of Democracy. Yes, please. That's the one that we want next for sure. So our UK player has asked me to spread out the trade and kind of give the French Republic some factories from trade. So I'm going to cancel some trade with the UK and transfer that over to France and try to spread the wealth a little bit so that France and the UK both benefit from those things. You can see now how things are going with the Spanish Civil War. It's pretty interesting at the moment how it's kind of torn between the two, but it's about to get a lot crazier. Arsenal of Democracy is almost done. We've got a lot of points available right now, so let's look at how we might best use those. Nothing there I really want to do, I don't think. Although there's some intriguing possibilities. Okay, so looking over here now. Give refuge to the German scientists. I forgot that I could do that. It gives a 5% research speed bonus at the cost of stability. And you can do the same with the Italian scientists. So those are each definitely worth it. It's going to draw my stability. Stability is still 89% though. So it was worth it to sacrifice 10% stability for 10% research speed. Taking a look at my Navy now, we're going to actually refit some ships that we've got some upgrades for. It'll use some of our naval dockyards to do that, but I think it's a good opportunity for us to do that while we're sitting around with naval dockyards and waiting for some upgrades before we build new ships. Continuing to get our fleets built up the way that we want. I don't think we'll spend the time on upgrading some of these things. Yeah, we will go ahead. 177 days to complete. We're going to go ahead and upgrade the USS Ranger to a Yorktown-class carrier. Don't want to do that, I don't think, with all of them, though. All right, time to get the super heavy battleship hull. That's one I've been after for a while. We're going to make that happen in 90 days, and by then we should have the naval experience to be able to design it the way that I want to. Here we are looking at the Spanish Republic, continuing to try and finish off nationalist Spain, but that war is far from over now that we're into 1937. Let's take a look and see how that's going. Still about the same as before. You can see the casualties have evened out somewhat. Just does not seem to be working one way or the other, except the Spanish Republic is heavily outnumbered. So I don't know what's going on with nationalist Spain that they can't win that. And then, of course, here is the latest Chinese war. And that seems to be going well for them. They've got a big advantage in numbers there, so they ought to be able to handle that. Italy and Ethiopia, that one should be over before too long. We're still only at 2% right now on the world tension. All right, we're going to get ourselves another scientist haven. Will get us yet another open research slot, which will be nice to have. That'll get us up to 7, I think. Let's take a look at production now. Everything looks good. Spanish Civil War just got a whole lot more interesting. It is now no longer a two-sided war. Let's take a look at that. It is now a four-sided war, I think. Or no, it's just a three-sided war. So a third group has kind of emerged in all of that. I'm not doing a whole lot right now with intelligence. We'll use that more once war begins, and we're a little more concerned about spending some of our civs on that. But right now I want to use as many civs as possible to build things up. Air superiority, there's a one step in our air doctrine. We're going to continue down that path as much as possible, especially since we'll have 7 different research trees available. Let's give France some more. Try to help them out as much as we can. Oh man, so the Republic of Honduras has joined Japan. So we've got South and Central American nations starting to join with Japan. Now obviously this is meant for him to have a big country to back him so he can gobble up some of those smaller countries in Central America. There's a win for Communist China in yet another war, so you can see them continuing to grow. They just grabbed a whole bunch of territory. So that gives them a second victory. and they're well on their way to conquering all of China and uniting it as communist. Well, as predicted, Honduras is using the backing of Japan as an avenue through which to conquer territory. And so you can see he has declared war. Now, we're really not in a position to do anything about that right now, but eventually that's going to be of some concern to me that he's doing that. We are staying on good terms with Mexico, so if at some point I need to go down that road, I can go through Mexico to attack that Japanese threat in Central America. Let's take a look where we want to go next. We can't do Fair Labor Standards Act yet, so I've got to figure out where I want to go next, some way of being able to continue to climb out of the depression. Those are things I would like to be able to do right now, but we're just not there yet. We do have that research slot available to us now. Let's take a look at the Navy for just a second. Nothing there. How about air power? All right, let's go ahead and get the Curtiss P-40. We need to build up our Senate and House support to be able to pass some of these national focuses. Now we can do Fair Labor Standards Act. There's the Marco Polo Bridge incident, so this could be Japan's foray into combat as they maybe go after northeastern China. We'll see if that's indeed what happens here. Let's go ahead and trade with the UK. Pick up what we need. There's Super Heavy Battleship Hull. So where do we want to go next with our research? Not entirely sure yet. These can wait because I'm not in combat right now, so I don't think I'll go after those new shells. That'll be something I research later on. Some of these things are additions that I would like to be able to have when building and designing my ships, but I think for now we'll go ahead and finally research 1930 weapons. Now let's take a look. Oh, India gains independence, so that's fascinating. Looks like the UK has given India their freedom, so it's no longer British Raj. It will be an independent realm instead. So I want to go ahead and take a look now at the Super Heavy Battleship Hull. We want to go ahead and start designing that naval treaty. Let's go ahead and deal with that. So the Super Heavy Battleship Hull, I want to try and upgrade this thing, and these are going to be kind of some of my top-of-the-line capital ships. So I'm going to try to design them as best I can, and I want to rename those. We're going to make them the Ohio-class battleships. And then we're going to just deck these things out with everything possible. Definitely want some big batteries, but we're also going to want some anti-aircraft. So let's get some super heavy batteries on there. Go anti-air, and then we'll do the super heavy batteries elsewhere. Get some secondaries in case we deal with some smaller ships. Just want to have a little bit of everything on these ships. Okay, so there's another, I think that makes 4 factions in Spain now in that 4-way civil war. All right, let's get an aircraft on there, because what the aircraft does is, oh geez, Venezuela has joined Japan's faction. So it looks as though Central and South America are going to ally with Japan, which is going to make things rather difficult for us. All right, anti-aircraft. We're just looking at the stats. We definitely, fire and control, no radar available yet. Let's get the best engine we can. We're basically doing the best of everything on this thing and trying to make it able to compete with just about anything. So I think that's about the direction we want to go for this. Not going to be very fast, but it's really decked out. So let's save that design and then go ahead and start building our first Ohio-class battleships. So as I'm taking a look at this crazy war happening in Spain, there's another war that we need to talk about now. That has been growing and growing. That is the Japanese-Brazilian War. We've got Japan, Venezuela, Honduras, and a few others going up against most of Central and South America. But Japan's pretty powerful, and we are sitting that out. We're neutral right now, so we're really not in a position to do anything. Looks like Italy has finished conquering Ethiopia, which is pretty historical that happened. But yeah, boy, things are happening in my hemisphere that I'm not a fan of, and I am not in a position to enforce the Monroe Doctrine right now. So there's really not a lot we can do but sit around and watch this. All right, new national focus. We passed the Fair Labor Standards Act. We're pretty well climbing out of the Depression now. So we're going to scroll over here and start looking at the War Department. It's only a 35-day national focus. Take a look at how the war's going. Honduras has actually lost a little bit of territory, and they've taken some casualties. But I have a feeling once Japan gets involved, that may go differently. Spanish Republic still winning overall in that war. Let's take a look at research now. Where do we want to go next? We'll just continue with excavation. Now, I'm taking a look at the makeup of my carrier flight makeup here. So we've got fighters, dive bombers, torpedo bombers. Torpedo bombers for the U.S. notoriously not so great, so I'm going to kind of ramp up how many dive bombers we have in favor of less torpedo bombers. We'll do the same here. Now we'll leave that one for now, I guess. There we go. Yeah, I don't think I want that many torpedo bombers. Definitely would prefer to have the dive bombers. There's another land doctrine that's been finished up. All right, continuing to watch the Spanish Civil War. Still no clear victor now that we're into late summer. Looks like at least one of them is going to be knocked out here pretty soon. But overall, it still seems like the Spanish Republic is winning overall. But these are all kind of separate wars, really. It's kind of a strange thing that's happening there. Here's the war in Central America, continuing to be pretty much a stalemate at the moment. Pretty equal numbers on both sides. All right, German Reich claims Memel, so we'll see how that all goes down. Taking a look at my airplanes now. Torpedo bombers, carrier fighters. How about industry? 1939 tech there, so probably a little too far out in front. How about fuel refining? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we've got the B-17 available to us. Let's go ahead and start building some of those. We'll eventually need them. They're going to be kind of one of the war horses, going to carry a lot of the weight of the strategic bombing that we'll be doing eventually. And we're going to make the Air Force separate, which is not something that happened historically during World War II. It didn't happen until after the war. It was part of the Army Air Corps historically. United Kingdom disavows appeasement. That's a big deal because that's, again, not historically how that went. So France is working on some things. They just declared war on Luxembourg. They're going to try to build out that Maginot Line as best they can by taking, I think, Benelux, as we call it, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. So there's the declaration of war on Belgium, and they've already gobbled up Luxembourg. So they're gonna try to do that so that they can fortify that entire defensive line against the Germans. That's obviously what they're attempting there. We'll see how that works out in reality if they're able to hold all along that line. But it makes sense. It makes sense to do that. Keep the Germans from being able to use that as a way around your defenses. So let's take a look now where we are. Here's our research. We're starting to work on M3 Stuart tanks. I need to start working on some armored divisions. Looks like Republican Spain is taking care of business right now. Here's the Spanish Civil War. It's going really, really well for the Republicans. I would imagine that means we're going to see socialism in Spain once that happens. And I would imagine that France is going to win this war pretty easily. They're gobbling up Belgium without much of a fight. So there it is. Spanish Republic has defeated nationalist Spain in the Civil War. So Spain is at last united under one banner once again, but it is going to be a socialist one. So it's not necessarily the best thing for us. There, France has declared war on the Netherlands. So that is the last part of the Benelux trifecta that they've got to take care of. And again, I don't expect that will go too difficult for them. Thomas Shelby is insane. He lives on the border of the Netherlands and Belgium, so he's sad that is happening. All right, we've been called by Costa Rica to go into this war against Honduras, Japan, Venezuela. We are not going to do that right now. That could have been an opportunity for me to stop the spread of Japan's influence in the south, but I'm just not ready to deal with that. Not yet, anyway. All right, the Tsardom of Bulgaria joins the Axis. So you can see one by one, nations are starting to choose their sides. I'm looking at the support that I've got. We need to get a little more support. Let's take a look where we want to go next. Can we do this yet? We cannot. Federal Housing Act. I'm still trying to climb us the rest of the way out of the Depression. That's not one we're able to do, at least not right now. Costa Rica has capitulated. So one by one, those Central American nations are falling to Honduras. Not crazy about what's happening down there. Argentine League declares war on the Oriental Republic of Uruguay. Man, pretty soon we're going to be down to just a couple of countries in Central and South America. There's the Republic of Honduras. They're just about done conquering everything. We're going to have to fortify Central America because remember, the United States at this time owns that strip of land around the Panama Canal. Uruguay has capitulated. That did not take long at all. We're going to start queuing up some infantry divisions. We're going to have to start building our army. So the Republic of Colombia proclaims Gran Colombia. So going back to their Bolivar roots there, creating Gran Colombia, which was historically kind of Venezuela, Colombia, and Panama, which was part of Colombia. And there's war on Ecuador. So yeah, this is happening fast and furious now. We're going to be down to like 4 or 5 countries down there. They've declared war on Panama now. So now we've got to defend the Panama Canal. We are going to have to fortify that. The French Empire dismantled their faction. They're probably going to join the Allies. I would imagine that's what's happening there. So the French Empire is now under the Napoleons, I believe. The Bonaparte family, I guess you would call it. Looking at what the factions are here, you can see just right now it's just the UK and the Allies. We've got Comintern there in Spain. India is part of the Allies. Australia is the Allies. But not much else. Canada. Oh, and Mexico is in the Allies as well. Axis, mainly just Germany at the moment. So let's start fortifying Panama. We're going to put some land forts there because we expect that'll come from land, the attack on the Panama Canal, if it comes at all. And we'll have to send some troops down there. I'm also going to build up the naval base because we're going to need as much supply as possible for all those troops that we're going to put there. All right, yeah, you're not going to purchase the Panama Canal from me. No, we're going to hang on to that for dear life. Okay, Athens has fallen. Let's go take a look and see what's going on with our military. We need to start sending some folks down here. So I'm going to go ahead and build up an army to send down here. We'll build a new army, actually. We'll rename that so it's easier to tell. Panama Canal Defense. We'll put Mark Clark in charge of that. Historically, one of the highest ranking generals in the European theater. And we're going to start sending divisions. Eventually, I want to get up to maybe 8 or 10 divisions defending that. I think any more than that, and it might be too many, and we might have some supply issues. So here's what's going on now in Europe. You can see France has joined the Allies. We've got Bulgaria in the Axis, Romania in the Comintern. So everybody's choosing a side. Japan's kind of doing their own thing. So we really kind of have 3 separate alliances. You got a 4th one here, Defensul, but I don't expect that one's going to last for very long, with Japan increasing its influence in South America, which is really making me nervous here, what they're doing there. At some point, that's going to become an issue that we're going to have to deal with. All right, research. We'll continue down our naval tech tree, our naval doctrine tree. Greece has capitulated to Italy. Italy is just having their way with the territories that they're conquering right now. They just gobbled up Greece like it was nothing. All right, so the Soviets and the Germans have signed their pact. That does make me a little bit nervous. I worry about that because if I end up siding with the Allies, and war support's not very high still for us. If I end up siding with the Allies and the Allies find themselves on the outs, if we figure there's 3 factions here, Comintern, Axis, Allies, whichever side gets 2 probably wins. Of course, Japan, they're kind of doing their own thing, so I don't know what's going on with that. But that's kind of my concern, as if Axis and Comintern end up friendly. We can't mobilize yet. We don't have what we need going on in the world to be able to do that, but hopefully that happens very soon. All right, we can upgrade our artillery finally. Let's go ahead and do that. Try to replace what we've done so far. I'm going to start ramping up our tank production. We can lower what we're doing with small arms for now. All right, research. Where do we want to go now? Oh yeah, let's take care. Let's take our computing machine. Give us another upgrade to research speed. See, we're getting close now. Only about 6 months away from the 1940 carrier hull. So we're going to have that well in advance of when it would have been historically. I just need to get that war score a little bit higher. Or that war support a little bit higher. Okay. Good night. So Japan and their allies have got a bunch of territory they're about to gobble up. The map of South America is about to look very, very different. There's the new look South America. Japan grabbed a little piece of territory for themselves. Interesting that it's landlocked. I'm not sure about that. Honduras has got a bunch of Central America there. So that leaves us. We're going to start moving our troops over to the western border to defend that in case Japan gets any ideas about using South America as a way of launching an attack on me. Wartime industry. This is huge for us. This is a big step in the right direction that we want to go. So we'll eventually take care of that. But let's do military construction for now. So you can see we're going to start defending the western border. I think that's all we need to do here for now. Let's spend some of these points. Now we can finally go up to partial mobilization. That's going to be a big, big deal for us as well. And you can see already that frees up some civilian factories, or some military factories that we didn't have before. So now we're going to really start cranking out the infantry and the armored divisions. We need to start rapidly improving our military, getting it ready, because we don't know how long it's going to be before Japan and their Central American and South American allies are going to come for us. Okay, Sweden has declared war on Estonia. So a lot of things happening in Europe as well. The world is getting to World War II a whole lot faster than it did historically. But we're definitely going to start ramping things up down in, now they declared war on Finland as well. So you can see what's going on there. Sweden's got designs on conquering all of Scandinavia. All right, we finished military construction. Where do we want to go next? Wartime industry. Can't do Lend-Lease Act. We're just too neutral for that still. So I'm not sure what we want to do next. Maybe something over here. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Intervention in the Americas. We're going to have to start getting ready for that, because I think war's coming sooner rather than later for the United States, and we're going to have to be prepared for that. Let's take a look once again at the factions. All right. Looks like Communist China just declared war on Japan. So they're going to just get that started before Japan spreads too much. Japan hasn't gone real far so far. We got 3 wars going on here. USSR and Communist China are going to be at war with Japan. So Comintern is definitely not going to side, at least not with Japan. Obviously, they could still side with Germany because Japan's not in the Axis at this point. They've got their own faction that they're dealing with. But that's where we're at right now. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. That was a lot for this episode. But by the time you see this, we will have already played episode 2, and I guarantee you a whole lot more will have happened. It looks like Hungary and Romania are at war. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.